these emotions, they're not just like this nuisance that we need to, drug ourselves or numb ourselves so that we could stop feeling the thing that we're feeling. These emotions are here as critical indicators to get us moving in the direction that we should be moving to get the things in the life that we want.
If you've ever felt like you were destined for more, you're in the right place. It's time to break out of the box you've been placed in. The world is waiting for your light.
Hey friend, welcome back. Thanks for joining me on today's episode. We are discussing emotions. Such an important topic, one of my favorite topics. I think I say that every time because truly these topics are very, very important to me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about them. But this particular topic truly defines your entire life. Your emotions, your ability to control your emotions, to understand your emotions, defines what type of life you have, whether it's a happy one, a fulfilled one, or whether you're filled with anxiety, doubt, depression, and all of those lower vibrational things, which we all feel from time to time, and it's completely normal, and it's completely a part of the emotional scale, as I'm going to explain thoroughly for you today so that you understand your emotions. But the ultimate goal always, always, always is to be in those high vibrational emotions as long as possible, for as much of the time as possible, so that they may be contagious, so that you may bring other people up alongside you and truly find joy and satisfaction in your life. That's the goal. It's always the goal. Expansion, joy, satisfaction, abundance. That's the goal. So if that resonates with you, stay with me, okay? So I'm going to introduce you, if maybe you already have heard of this concept, but if not, I want to introduce you to this concept of the emotional scale. There is a scale of emotions, and there are two sides. There is a high vibration and there is a low vibration. Everything in this universe operates on frequency and vibration, and our emotions are no different. So when you find yourself in the lower vibration feelings, you feel not good. When you find yourself in those high vibration feelings, you feel amazing. You feel like you can take over the world. You feel like you're elevated. And then there's a bunch of emotions all in between. And sometimes when we find ourselves in one emotion or another, it's easy to think that it was either a complete fluke or coincidence how we ended up there, or that someone else put us there, some occurrence, some circumstance put us into that emotion. But what I want you to fully and completely believe and understand is that you are 100% responsible, but responsible is such a harsh word. I don't want to use that word, but you are in control. You are in control of your emotions. And it is something that you can learn like a skill. It is something that you can practice and get better at. But as you understand what your emotional scale looks like and where you fall on the scale and why you're here or there or wherever in between, as you begin to understand these things, you can get better at identifying where you're at and bumping yourself up to where you want to be. And that's why I want to take the time to go over this scale, to show you what it looks like, to kind of go over each individual emotion so that you understand. And when you find yourself there, you're going to be able to identify it, and you're going to be able to stop beating yourself up for being there. That's one of the key things, is that we oftentimes beat ourselves up when we're in the low vibrational emotion, the lower feeling. And in the beating up of ourselves, we end up staying there for way longer than we need to. We end up coming back there more often than we need to. So what we want to do is we want to stop beating ourselves up, stop putting labels on things as good or bad, and further explore this acceptance of everywhere that we happen to find ourselves on the scale of emotions is perfectly okay. There is no good or bad. And yes, I am saying high vibration, low vibration. So you might say, well, high vibration is good, low vibration is bad. Well, in the physical sense, yes, it's easy to define it that way because good feelings feel good and bad feelings feel bad. And so when we feel good, it's good. When we feel bad, it's bad. When we're around someone that's grumpy, we label them as bad. When we're around someone that's angry, we label them as bad. When we're around someone that's happy and smiley and cheerful, we label them as good. But it's not that it's good or bad. It just is. It just is. You have different vibrations and frequencies that exist in anything that we measure, and it just is. It's either at the vibration of 300 hertz or it's at the vibration of 2, and it just is. So yes, the goal, like I said, we all want to be up here, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. But we all want to be up here for the sake of feeling great. But realize that when you're not up there, when you're down here, when you're at the lower vibration, it's not bad. It's just a part of the wave. There's waves like the ocean. Here in Charleston, we have these major fluctuations in the tides. High tide, low tide, high tide, low tide, twice a day. Twice a day we get high tide, twice a day we get low tide. When you go out onto the dock, there is it's very, very visible. The water's either all the way up to the dock or it's all the way down low to where you can see the mud and everything, and the river looks almost dry. And those are the tides. And with the moon, with the full moon, the tides are even more enhanced. The high tide is even higher and the low tide is even lower. And that's kind of how our emotions are, but they don't have to be so up and down, up and down. We can learn how to sort of regulate them. But they are that way in the sense that high tide isn't any more good than low tide is bad. And so please give yourself that grace that the next time that you find yourself in a lower vibration, you just can identify and say, oh, I'm here on the scale, but I wish to be there. But we're not going to beat ourselves up, and we're not going to label ourselves as bad, as useless, hopeless. We're just going to identify it, and we're going to do the work. Okay? So I want to show you the scale. This is the scale, the emotional guidance scale. And all the way here at the top, tippity top, we have joy, appreciation, empowerment, freedom, and love. This is the absolute best feelings that you as a human can possibly feel. And when you are here, it's here that you will find yourself the luckiest. Because when you go out into the world vibrating at this high vibration, you attract other circumstances and other people that are also vibrating at that same vibration. Okay? Like, have you ever seen the tuning fork where they bang the fork and it vibrates, it wiggles, it moves, and then they put it next to another fork that's of a different frequency, and nothing will happen to the other fork. But then when they put it next to the one that's the identical frequency of the one that's vibrating, this one begins to vibrate. That's how everything works. When you're vibrating at that high vibrational frequency, you're attracting circumstances and people that are also up here. That's why you'll notice that when you're in a good mood, everything seems to be going your way. And when you're in a bad mood, all of a sudden, you stub your toe, you get every red light, you drop your stuff, you forget your phone, like everything goes wrong. It's like when everything's going wrong, everything's going wrong. And the opposite is true. When everything is going good, it seems like everything just lines up. You know, you get to the grocery store and the parking spot is open and like everything just seems to be going well when you're in a great mood. And that's because you're at this high vibration of joy, appreciation, empowerment, freedom, and love. And under that is passion, and then enthusiasm, and then positive expectation or belief, optimism, hopefulness, satisfaction, and contentment. And then we have boredom. And from boredom, we start to get down into these lower frequencies: pessimism, frustration, overwhelmment, disappointment, doubt, worry, blame, discouragement, anger, revenge, hatred and rage, jealousy. And right underneath jealousy, you have insecurity, guilt, and unworthiness. And then fear, grief, depression, despair, and powerlessness. It's the absolute lowest feeling that you can feel on the scale. Aside from just feeling good, let me tell you why it's so important for you to be up on the top of the scale for as much of the time as possible. So we all have a higher self, our best self. This is the self that is invisible to us, but is pulling us in the direction of our dreams, of our desires. Any desire that we have is placed on our heart by our highest self, by the version of us that knows and understands that we're capable of anything that we want. And we are given those desires because those desires are the things that pull us to grow, that pull us to expand, that pull us to become a better version of ourselves so that we can achieve the desire. Because anytime that you have a desire, it means that you want to be somewhere where you're not. You want to be over there, but you're over here. And in order to get over there from over here, you have to become the type of person that is over there. So it is our higher self that is pulling us there. That's why when we have desires, many times when we try to push them out or we try to shut them up, they never really go away. And if we ignore them and don't do anything about them, we quickly become very complacent and sort of in that depressed mode because we're supposed to be doing something about it. And as soon as you get yourself into action and you start moving towards the direction of your desires, you quickly find that you actually feel really good when you're doing those activities that you know you should be doing. And it's all you, it's all self-imposed. You know what you need to be doing. You know what it is, what are the actions that are getting you closer, and what are the actions that are keeping you farther apart from your desires. You know this because of the feeling that you have whenever you're doing anything. And so these feelings that we have are so important because they are like a guidance system from our higher self that is constantly pulling us in the direction of our desires. So your higher self is sort of in the ether. It's like this invisible self, and it has no way of communicating with you. It has no way of speaking to you. The only communication that it's able to have with you is through your feelings and your emotions. And so when it feels good, when it feels like you're going higher up the emotional scale, then you know that you're doing the things that are bringing you closer to your desires, because that's how your higher self communicates with you. Your higher self tells you through your feelings and emotions whether or not you're getting closer or whether or not you're getting farther apart, farther away. So this is why we don't ignore our feelings. This is why we don't suppress our emotions. Instead, we have to get good at listening, identifying, and doing something about it. Because these emotions, they're not just like this nuisance that we need to, drug ourselves or numb ourselves so that we could stop feeling the thing that we're feeling. These emotions are here as critical indicators to get us moving in the direction that we should be moving to get the things in the life that we want. So think of it as like GPS, your personal guidance system. When you feel good, you're going the right direction. So you've got point A is where you are and point B is where you want to be. That's where all your desires are. When you're feeling good, you are on your way. Stay here, stay in this vibration, keep going. But when you don't feel good, this is your higher self nudging you, telling you, hey, your desire is this way, but you're moving this way. You're going the wrong way. So that's your personal guidance system and your communication with your highest self. Okay? Now watch this. When you're down here in these lower vibrations, this is where you need to pay attention. And this is where you need to understand whether you're moving up the scale or down the scale. And if you don't understand the order of these emotions, it's very easy to get confused and to think you're doing the wrong thing when actually you're doing the right thing. So look at anger down here, okay? Anger down here, it's a low vibration, but it's not the lowest. Actually, it's the highest of the low, of the ones that are in red, of those lowest ones. It's the one that's on top that's the highest. And what's way, way lower is jealousy and fear, grief, depression, despair, and powerlessness. So when you're angry, it feels like a terrible emotion. And a lot of times, we're ostracized for being angry because anger tends to be an outward emotion while powerlessness is an inward emotion. So a lot of times the people that are around us, they would much prefer us to be in this powerless emotion because it's inward, versus an angry emotion, which is outward, because it doesn't affect them when you're powerless, but it does affect them when you're angry. Understood? So because of that, in our society, anger is labeled as this awful, terrible emotion, and it definitely is in the lower vibration and not something that you want to feel ultimately. But consider how much higher it is than powerlessness. So when you find yourself angry, understand that it's an improved state over the depressive and the despair and the powerless. It is an improved state, and you are on your way up the scale. But if you beat yourself up over being angry, you will quickly find yourself back down to powerless and despair, which is at the bottom. And it's hard to get back up when you hit the bottom. It's much easier to maintain momentum and stay in the elevated emotions than it is to hit the way bottom and then try to bounce yourself back up. So when you feel anger, understand that it is an upgrade from despair and depression. You are on your way up the emotional scale. I also want to show you this other chart that illustrates this even in a more powerful way, and that is this emotional spiral. So you see these high vibration feelings are up top and the low vibration feelings are all the way at the bottom. But I want you to notice something, and this, when I was studying this really hit me hard, and that is boredom right here in the middle. Look at boredom. Boredom is just above jealousy and just below hopefulness, calm, and optimism. Now, isn't this so interesting? Because what do we generally do when we're bored? Oftentimes, I don't know about you, but I have done this. You go on social media because you're bored. So now you're going to go and scroll your phone. And look how quickly. I mean, as soon as you get on your phone, and not only is jealousy right here, but fear is also right here under boredom as well. So let's say you go on your phone or you turn on the TV and you see the news and you have overwhelm and fear, which are both right here under boredom. and then jealousy and frustration, which are both right here under boredom. So how quickly and easily can you spiral all the way down this emotional scale simply because you're bored and you turn on the TV or you start scrolling social media? Look at this. I mean, instantly, if you see an article that is something negative going on in the world, you're instantly placed in a place of fear, which leads you down to pessimism, which leads you down to grief, which leads you down to hatred, which leads you down to heartache, which leads you down to depression and disappointment, which leads you down to despair, which leads you down to worthlessness, which leads you down to victim, which leads you down to shame, which leads you down to guilt, which leads you down and down and down and down. I mean, how quick? Like, just think about it. Probably 1 minute of being on your phone or watching TV can lead you down this emotional scale all the way to the bottom. Just because boredom is right here. It's this pivotal point. And same with jealousy. You know, you go on your phone, you see somebody is posting something on social media, you get a little envious, you wish you had it, and bam, you're down in jealousy. Then you're down in judgment, because obviously whenever we're on our phones, we're always judging, always, because we're always putting things in categories of this is good, this is bad, this is stupid, this is great, this is, social media is this very judgment zone. Like any time that we go on, and then what do? Then we read the comments, and then we say, oh, this comment is so stupid, and this comment is so funny, and this comment is so clever. And I mean, all we ever do when we're looking at anything on social media through a doom scroll or through a kind of a boredom scroll is judgment. So now how quickly you get down into judgment, and then how quickly you get down into doubt and negative self-talk and blame and irritation. Hopefully, I mean, you can see the chart for yourself. But now look what's above boredom. Above boredom is hopefulness, calm, optimism, curiosity, playfulness, positive, organized, courage, productive expectation, belief, acceptance, happiness, self-love, enthusiasm. We're elevating, right? Can you see this? We're elevating like so fast, so fast. So if I was you, and I'm talking to myself, as I always do with these videos, because all of the things that I talk about, I have struggled with. And so when I do this research and I film this content, it's for me. And so if I was you, I would never, ever again go on my phone to scroll social media or turn on the news if I'm bored. Truly, if you look at the scale, never, ever if you're bored. Do it when you're in a good mood. Do it when you're happy. Do it when you're curious. Do it when you're in a place of gratitude. Do it when you're feeling worthy. Do it when you're feeling knowledgeable. Do it when you're feeling outward focused. Do it when you're feeling confident. Do it when you feel like learning. Then go on these apps and to the TV. But when you're bored, you got to stay away, because look what you're doing. And then it's no wonder how quickly we go from just feeling all right to feeling like to the bottom of the totem pole during these doom scrolls. It's no wonder, because it's right here on the scale of emotions. So, social media and the news and all of it, it's a great tool, and there's so much good that can come from all of it, but you have to understand your own emotions, and you have to know when you need to go on and when you need to stay away. And when you're bored, oh my gosh, stay away. So one last thing, and going back to this other chart, one last thing that I do want to go over with these emotions and sort of understanding them so that you can bring yourself up, so that you can be on your way to your desires, where your higher self is pulling you, is understanding how they work. So like the spiral, it pulls you up or pulls you down. And when you're down here, let's say you're in jealousy, right? Let's say you're in jealousy, envy. You can't reach satisfaction or hopefulness from jealousy. They're too far away. So when someone says, let's say when you're feeling sad, or you're in despair, and someone says, "Oh, just be happy, just be grateful." You can't, because look where gratitude is, all the way up on the scale, and look where fear and grief and depression are, all the way down here. It's impossible for you to reach these higher feelings from down here. But what is possible is to reach the next one up. So you can get relief from your jealousy through hatred, and you can get relief from your hatred through anger, and you can feel relief from your anger through discouragement, and you can feel relief from your discouragement through blame, and you can feel relief from your blame through worry. And that's how you get yourself up the emotional scale. It will be very hard just to jump all the way, but with each emotion, you can get yourself there gently. And remember that when you're bored, this is a very, very critical place to be. Choose wisely what you do when you're bored. Do something that makes you feel creative. Do something that makes you feel like you're learning. Do something that makes you feel like you're building something, like you're achieving something, like you're creating something, because it's very easy to go down the scale. And now it's making me wonder if that's why so many people are depressed and fearful and just feeling powerless, is because when we're bored, and we easily are and often are, it's so easy to get there through our devices. So be very mindful of this. Screenshot this, or maybe I'll try to link this up. I'll probably do a blog post on this. So I'll link this up so that you have these charts, so that you can look at them, and so that you can catch yourself when you're going up or when you're going down. And you don't have to wait to get all the way down to the bottom before you do something about it. You can actually realize that when you're in pessimism, or when you're in frustration and impatience, you can realize that that's a good point to start building yourself back up again, because you're not quite down at the bottom yet, but you're spiraling towards that direction. But when you understand it, and when you identify it, you can work your way back up. I hope you enjoyed this topic. If you want me to expand on this emotional scale, I am happy to do so. Please let me know what your questions are, and which emotion and which frustration or which situation that you struggle with, that you personally would like me to dive into, and I'm happy to do a video about it. But until then, I wish you so much joy and abundance, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.